Yes, I can start now. Hello, everyone. I'm Toygun Yilmazer. I'm Chief Strategy Officer in TBWA, and it's great to see the room full with so many people. I'm seeing some friends from the advertising industry, and I'm sure there are some experts in the AI field. So in the end, it would be great to get your comments on it and discuss around this subject. I'm gonna be, AI is such a broad field that there's a whole track in South by Southwest for AI. But this is advertising and brand experience, so I'm gonna be talking about the implications for our own industry in advertising in this session. But the field is growing very fast and there are a lot of advancements in AI, so I had to revise this presentation a couple of times. Even last night I made some revisions. So what I'm saying is advertising, no algorithm for culture yet, because in the coming months and weeks there may be major changes. So at the moment I will be sharing all the findings that I have around this subject. Let me start by talking about myself. I've been in the advertising industry for 24 years. So I went through a lot of different stages, phases, changes in the industry, and all in the same industry in TBWA. So I feel like TBWA's T stands for Toygun now. And using disruption methodology of TBWA, I founded Disruption Consultancy, and we're working with all kinds of companies, not only big advertisers, but startups and B2B companies, helping them in their marketing and brand strategy. And in the last 6 months, we've been experimenting with our own proprietary tool, Disruption AI. So I have some first-hand experience working with AI, and I'm going to be sharing all that, my advertising knowledge and AI practice, all the findings from that. I was on the stage before in 2017 talking about advertising for good. It was called a session, What is it good for? And at the time, social good was such an important subject for our industry. And over time, purpose, ECG, sustainability have become an inseparable part of our lives. But still, this was something that was advisable to do. Like, not all the brands had to do something on social goods, but it had its benefits, and we talked about it. But when it comes to AI, it's the biggest topic at the moment, but we feel like everyone has to do something about it because we feel a certain threat around it. It's an existential threat. Like, I came across this week. Our AI Journey is a book that is releasing chapters, I think, every month. And this month they shared their interviews with Sam Altman, and he said 95% of the marketing work will be handled by AI. And so this is an existential crisis for all of us. So that's why it's urgent and we have to think and act on it. And the main question that everyone has at the back of their mind is, will AI take my job? Will I become obsolete and useless? So I will try to answer that question throughout the presentation. So let's think like an AI. AIs are great function optimizers, function optimization machines they are. So let's think about the main function of advertising, what we're trying to solve, and how AI can work on it. So asking you, like, what is the main function of advertising? What do you think? Yes. Huh? Awareness or selling, yeah. So usually it's around sales, so increasing sales, we can say. But in advertising, we have different levels that go to that endpoint of sales. We talk about increasing awareness, making people aware that that brand exists, or making people consider when they're thinking about a certain category, and turning that perception into real purchase with conversion. And all of these things apply for the main function of advertising. But there are a lot of ads out there that are trying to do this. Don't buy that, buy this is something that we see all around. And So the real question we have to be asking ourselves is, what is the main function of good advertising? Like when I look around all the ads that we have done over the years, what are the special ones and what really makes them special? So I have one example from TBWA Media Arts Lab. Maybe most of you have seen this, but let's look at it again. Because this was done at the launch of AirPods, and it really made a big impact on our culture.
Didn't even really wanna go, but if you get me out, you get a show. Are you down, did it down, did it down, did it down, down, down? Are you down, down, down,
So it doesn't talk about the sound quality or the technological superiority. It doesn't say, don't worry, it won't fall down. It's just putting everything into a cultural context of dancing, moving, and flowing with the music. And this made an impact. So I think you saw this. So when they were first introduced without the ad or without any cultural context, this was how the world reacted to it. Everyone made fun of it. But it's so interesting how we adapted to it. I'm sure there are a lot of you in this room who are using AirPods. And over time, it became a status symbol. So they knew a way to blend with culture, make it part of the culture. And when we look at this person, we don't feel like it's weird, but we think it's cool. So even the Apple CEO, Tim Cook, says it has become a cultural phenomenon. And it is reflected in the sales, like that first function that we were talking about. So it sold 82 million units globally in 2022, and they had 20% market share of the global smart personal audio market. And what's interesting is that it's generating such a big revenue for Apple that it can compete with some tech companies that we know, Airbnb, eBay, and Spotify. So this is a huge success for them. Another good example I have is an old one. I'm sure you have all seen this ad in your own countries. I think we come across it in the 90s in Turkey. And "A diamond is forever" was selected the best slogan of the 20th century because it's really has changed culture all over the world. They even defined how much money you should pay for a diamond engagement ring with how can you make 2 months' salary last forever. At the time, Harry Oppenheimer, who was the manager of De Beers, they had 90% of the world's supply, but there was not enough demand for diamonds because it wasn't like gold, which had second-hand value. So they went to the Ayer and Son advertising agency, and they decided to position it as a symbol of eternal love, so that you don't have to, when you buy it, you keep it for yourself forever. And we had this, when you think about it, proposing with a diamond engagement ring is such a part of culture that you don't really think about it have come to this way with an advertising campaign. But this was a very successful campaign in the US. Now there's 80% diamond penetration. And then they decided to expand into Asian markets, starting with Japan. They had some reservations because of the culture there. It was all about arranged marriages. There was no concept of romance. It wasn't that dominant there. But it worked. It worked very well. And in the 90s, they had 77% penetration again. So it was very powerful that it changed culture in favor of the brand. So I would argue that the main function of good advertising is changing culture, changing our behaviors, making behavioral adoption. That's the main function of good advertising. And you might think that those are old examples with traditional advertising, and in today's world, there are not that many examples, but this prime example from last year, it has similar qualities. Like, I didn't know about these guys, but they are the biggest YouTubers in their own countries. Logan Paul is the biggest YouTuber in US, and KSI is the biggest YouTuber in UK with 30 million, 40 million subscribers in YouTube. And people learned about them when they had this boxing match in 2018. It was promoted as the biggest event in internet history. And people realized that they are rivals, boxing rivals, but all of a sudden they saw them as business partners with this launch of a drinks company.
Guys, we have an announcement. We have a project we want to tell you about. We have created our own drink company. Yes! Ladies and gentlemen.
JJ, honor. No longer rivals, brothers, business partners. That's it. We love y'all.
Peace!
Let's go! I guess that's
I'm at my prime. Yeah.
And they were very successful. In their first year, they had 5.8% market share. They stole from Gatorade and Body Armor in this sports drink category. But they positioned themselves as hydration drink. And at the end of 2023, they had 1 billion bottles sold worldwide. They claim they're the fastest growing hydration drink in history. And why do people are so attracted to it? Because the main audience is male teens, and they're making collections of these bottles. So I'm going to show one example here. And they don't just see it as a beverage brand. They see it as a lifestyle brand that is very much associated with the success of its founders.
Building the world's largest Prime drink collection. I really don't know if I should tell you guys how much I've actually spent on Prime. Prime is literally the most hyped item on the planet right now. And this is why I've bought a shitload of it. People are literally selling Prime for £15 a bottle. Do you know how mad that is, bro? I mean, I've bought so much of the stuff now, I've been having Prime tea. Oh, that's so grim. Even the family fridge is completely stacked up with Prime, which I'm not sure my mum's too happy about. Sorry. Some of you will remember I even had a bath in the stuff, which looking back is probably one of the most expensive baths in history. I spent about £1,000 on the red and blue flavours alone. We've also just picked up some of the other flavours, so make sure to drop a follow because the world's largest Prime collection is just getting started.
Yeah. So good advertising changes culture in favor of the brand. It's our job to understand culture, involve brands in culture, and then change culture in their own favor. I came across this quote in an article written by one of the founders of Fred and Ferret agency. When he first met GPT, he said, "Everything I've been fighting for, the singularity of human creativity, imagination, originality, emotion, seemed beaten. I couldn't feel more useless." So this goes back to the question that we had in the beginning, all these advancements, they make us feel useless because we think creativity is our main job in this field. It's definitely our superpower, I could say. It's very critical, and we apply it to solve business problems. But compared to art, where creativity is the end product, where it's more open-ended, it's more free, and you end up with creativity. We use creativity for a reason. So that's why we talk about effectiveness. There are some objectives, and we use it to reach to that objective. So I would argue that we are in the business of culture and not creativity, and this is critical in today's world, where we are seeing a lot of creativity AI tools. And when we see them, instead of feeling sad that creativity is not a domain of humans anymore, we can think about it as creativity has got a major update. Now there is augmented creativity with AI tools. So our weapon has become more powerful now. But in the end, we're in the business of culture. That's why we are all actually already working like that. But we are so much obsessed with creativity that we don't see the things that we're doing at the moment. I'm sure other agencies have systems like this or claims like this. In TBWA, we talk about locating and involving brands in culture. And we have a system for it. We have cultural spotters all around the world in different agencies. They talk about the trends that they see every day. They share it with a global center, the TBWA's Cultural Intelligence Unit, and then those trends are defined, categorized, and named, and we announce the cultural shifts that are shaping our world. They are turned into reports, documentary series, conferences all around the world, and they have a big impact on the work that we do every day. But we have to think more about the culture's role in our work. I think there's not much emphasis on it at the moment in our industry. What is culture? The way of life for an entire society, including codes of manners, dress, language, religion, rituals, norms of behavior, and systems of belief. So it's about how we think, how we behave, how we live. It covers all of that. And in advertising, we're actually interested in the change in culture, how the culture changes, because that has a lot of impact on our own business. So I would make some points about what culture is, how we should be thinking about culture throughout this presentation to come to a conclusion about AI's role in this business of culture. The first one is culture is unpredictable. So when we look at all the things that are happening at the moment, we see that all of them are very unexpected. Culture is alive and constantly evolving. There are things that you wouldn't expect at all. So Stanley bottle that survived the car fire had a huge impact on the sales of Stanley all over the world in just last year. Or you could argue that Greta Thunberg, a Swedish girl, had a very big impact on people thinking about climate change more than the opinion leaders and politicians that have come before her. So everything is changing so fast and unexpectedly, so there's no way to predict that. Although AIs are great prediction machines, what they do is they look at big data that we wouldn't have time to analyze or see the patterns in them, but they can see the patterns in them, and they come up with outcomes from this big data. But when the future is unlike the past, it doesn't make a lot of meaning to analyze past data. This is the teaser video I did for this session in August when I applied for panel picker, and it's a celebration on culture's unpredictability. So my first point is on culture being unpredictable. It's alive and constantly evolving. And if the future is unlike the past, collecting big data and analyzing it from the past doesn't work. So even with algorithms for everything, the rapid pace of cultural evolution surpasses AI's capabilities. So it's still, culture is something that we understand, and it will be hard for AI to make meaning of this unpredictableness. The second point is on culture being very human-driven. There is a very nice comparison I want to talk about chess games and dating sites, because in both of them we had seen AI working in. Have you seen this documentary on Netflix, AlphaGo? So since 2000 till 2016, there was not much interest in the field of AI. Like in the 60s and 70s, it was all over in the computer science world, in statistics. But the general public got interested in it around 2016-17, where there were major developments in machine learning. And this was one of them. DeepMind, now a part of Google, they created AlphaGo, which played with human champions. And at the time it was Lee Sedol, and AlphaGo in the end beat Lee Sedol, and this was a big news for the machine learning work. Go, for some of you that don't know it, is a strategy board game that was developed in China 2,500 years ago. And although it has simple rules, it's one of the most studied strategy games of all time. So this was a major step for machine learning, and it made it in the news. They didn't even stop with AlphaGo. They went into chess with AlphaZero, and in AlphaGo, they had analyzed 30 million moves that humans made with this game, and then AI played with its own versions, copies of itself, and that was how they managed to beat the human champions. In the case of chess, they just trained it in 24 hours, so it's getting very fast, these developments. Another example is dating apps. They claim to find your true love, and they talk about AI analyzing all the data out there, all the options for you, and finding the true love for you. But after a decade, there are a lot of news about people growing tired of these dating apps. Millions of people around the world are using them, but only half of them are satisfied with the outcome. And especially they're having a hard time speaking to a younger demographic audience. 90% of Gen Z feel frustrated with these apps. So why does AI work in chess games but not in dating apps? Let's take a look at that. In chess games, there is perfect information. Everything is on the board. You can see everything. There is no hidden information. So it's easy to analyze what's happening and make the right moves. But in dating sites, there is incompleteness of data. People either don't know what they want, or they cannot articulate it very clearly. So it's very hard for AI to analyze and make the right choices for them. In chess games, there is no chance element, like there is no dice rolling or card drawing, so it's only depending on the moves of the people. But in dating apps, there are a lot of influence of external factors, like the chemistry between two people, timing, external factors about their family, their social status, and everything. So it's very hard for AI to make conclusions about what's going to happen. And the other point is, in chess games, there are very clear rules. You know which move, the kind of moves that each piece will make. And it's a turn-based game. Now it's your turn, now it's my turn. So it's very clear, and it's all depends on our analyzing and making the right move there. But in dating apps, it's based on complex human behaviors and preferences. Most of the time, what we want now, our preferences, can change over time. So it's not based on fixed variables. So it's very hard for AI to analyze and predict and make conclusions about it. So when we think about culture, is it more like chess games, or is it more like dating? I think it's very clear that it's more like dating because it's based on complex human behaviors and preferences. So AI works best in well-defined, stable environments. That's why it's hard for AI to understand culture. Culture is based on human beliefs and behaviors, and AI works best in, as I said, well-defined, stable situations. So human manners, emotions, our preferences are highly complex and ever-changing, so it's unstable for AI to make conclusions. And my third point is about culture being very emotional, about emotions. I'm going to show a video that went viral in UK. So watching you on stage, I can see that you're also connecting with it on an emotional level. There are probably some parents in the room and they know how it feels like hugging your children. They know from your past experience, you know it. And so it's not only a story that you watch, but you're relating with it. You're creating empathy with the mom because you know those feelings. You are always looking at it with your own experience in the back. And this is important when we look at culture because there's always a meaning, an emotional depth to it. Today we have very capable AI tools that they can look at a video and understand different objects and relationship and the action in it. So they can say that this is a soldier mom meeting her son and family and crying. But it's not enough for us because this is a literal description of what's happening there, but we connect with it on an emotional level. And yes, like there are large language models. It means that they know all the languages in the world and what it means, the basic meanings of each word and the whole language. But we're creating meaning with our own senses, our own emotions, and our own experience. So it really makes a difference how we connect with it. And in advertising, we try to create cultural meaning and we expect people to connect with it on an emotional level. So it's something that we can understand because it's based on our own experience. Last year I was reading a lot of books on AI, watching everything, choosing the things that are related with AI, and I was watching this anime on Netflix called Pluto. So in the video you will see two robots. Although they look like humans, they are humanoid robots, so they're talking with each other. Let's see and discuss.
お待たせしました。いただきます。何ですか？
いや、本当に美味しそうに食べるなと思ってね。私の飲み方なんていかにも真似だろ？
真似してるうちに分かるような気がしてきたんです。
何がだい？
美味しいってことが。人間の言う本当の感覚は分かりませんけど、なんとなく胸が。
なんということ。
So it's incredible for a robot to understand taste. The best they can do is to pretend to understand it. And when I saw this, I realized the difference between what robots can do and what we can do. And it's around taste and smell and touch. It's about senses. So think about the taste of chocolate. You know the taste, but when it comes to describing it, can you describe it in words? How does it taste like? Or even try to put it in numbers and represent it with numbers. It would be very hard to describe it because there are no metrics for it. Or the feeling of corduroy, how it feels, or the smell of French fries. There are a lot of data available out there for audio and visual, but for smell, touch, and taste, there are no data because it's very hard to define them. And it is also very subjective. One thing that is very delicious for you could be repulsive for another person, so it's really hard to measure and define that as that much personal and subjective. So we connect with cultural trends on an emotional level. This is what really is about the impact in culture. And cultural meaning goes beyond the literal meaning of words and symbols. AI excels at literal language, but struggles with human senses and emotions. So, as you can see, when it comes to culture, although AI is a very powerful tool, it's still a domain for us, and that's why I said there is no algorithm for culture. Culture is unpredictable, human-driven, and emotional. And if we think about our business as understanding and changing culture, then it makes perfect sense for us that AI is a tool that we can use, but when it comes to our main job, culture is still our own domain that we can keep for ourselves. Another example I have is from Good Will Hunting. It wasn't intended to be about AI, but when I look at it now, I see that Matt Damon's character is like AI and Robin Williams' character is like human. So let's watch it with that filter. When you watch it, think about it like that.
You know what occurred to me? No. You're just a kid. You don't have the faintest idea what you're talking about.
Why, thank you.
It's all right. You've never been out of Boston.
Nope.
So if I asked you about art, you'd probably give me the skinny on every art book ever written. Michelangelo. You know a lot about him. Life's work, political aspirations, him and the Pope, sexual orientation, the whole works, right? I bet you can't tell me what it smells like in the Sistine Chapel. You've never actually stood there and looked up at that beautiful ceiling. Seen that. If I ask you about women, you'd probably give me a syllabus of your personal favorites. You may have even been laid a few times. But you can't tell me what it feels like to wake up next to a woman and feel truly happy. You're a tough kid. I ask you about war, you'd probably throw Shakespeare at me, right? Once more into the breach, dear friends. But you've never been near one. You've never held your best friend's head in your lap and watch him gasp his last breath looking to you for help.
So yes, AI is book smart, knows everything in the world, has all the knowledge. We can never have that much of knowledge, but we know things and we link it with our own senses, our own emotions and experience. So it's more rooted, grounded in us. And this is what makes us uniquely human. And we should keep this in mind. It's very clear that AI will have a big impact in our own industry. It will create a lot of efficiencies. But working with AI, how can we work with them? And will it make us useless? So if we think about our industry as a business of culture, I think we can use AI when it comes to different tasks. And one way of looking at it is from a quote I heard from John Haggerty. Gutenberg invented the printing press and it created publishing and made the Renaissance happen. Lumiere brothers invented the motion picture camera and it created film and made visual communication happen. Leo Fender came up with the electric guitar, and it created amplified music and made rock and roll happen. But none of them were very good in their own craft. So Gutenberg was not a brilliant writer, Lumiere brothers were not great cinematographers, and Leo Fender couldn't play the guitar. So inventors are visionaries. They come up with this vision and all the new tools, but it's our job to be the ones to master this, master the craft. So we can think about ourselves as more like Jimi Hendrix than Leo Fender. We will not create those inventions, but we can be the ones to master it. If you want a copy of this presentation and other cultural trends that we have, you can email me. And I would be very happy to discuss about the comments that I made or any questions that you have. Yes.
Yeah, I just want to compliment you on giving some perspective from seeing the Amy Webb. Kind of took me down a bit, so it was nice to have some positive view on the AI, so thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, good morning. Incredible talk, Toygun. My name is Nate Nichols, creative director, founder at creative agency and production company Palette Group. And my question is how do you recommend to go about this yourself? Like, how do you create more accessible tactics to build the sort of technology you're building at TBWA Chiat, so that any everyday individual can go about building models that help create efficiencies for their world and their lives? So if I'm an entrepreneur, for example, how do I problem solve for myself, more efficiently and effectively, and or for my clients?
So I believe the question is about creating tools, your own tools, practical ways of doing it.
Yeah, is there any accessible ways? Because it feels like it could be sort of expensive to build a server and...
No, actually the tools that I see around and also the tools that we create are based on workflows. So you have a certain way of doing business, you know your business very well, and you know the steps in it that other people don't know, and then you can create a workflow and help the available technologies to function in it, and then you have your own tool. That's what is happening. The more powerful tools out there are combining a lot of different workflows and finding ways to make them work together. But for your own job, you can find a way to, like, instead of talking about our know-how and sharing it with new generations, new people in the agency, you're putting it in a software, so it's easy for everyone to work with it. So that's the idea behind it.
Cool, thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, Toygun, fantastic presentation. I'm David Evans from Collage Group, a cultural intelligence platform. A big picture question. So I think you're saying that the reason why AI cannot create culture or produce it is because it's not conscious. It's not sentient. In other words, it's not predicting its own future. Would that be a fair conclusion?
No, I didn't go into that direction. There's this whole debate about algorithmic culture, how AI can create culture for ourselves, and we may be seeing it, experiencing it, and it may be in favor of the tech companies who are using it. But that's a whole different discussion. That's why I didn't go into creating culture, AI creating culture. This was more on understanding culture and changing culture in favor of the brand. So I wanted to limit it to advertising. That was my coming point to it. So my whole perspective was on that. Because it's such a huge field, you have to, like, focus on something. So that was it. It's another debate, like, AI is not sentient, yes. And
I guess the real question is, if AI becomes sentient, if it becomes conscious, does it become a cultural being in its own right? And then start interacting with us in such a way as to actually not just be a kind of a mechanism to produce what was done in the past, but to create entirely unpredictable new experiences.
Yeah, maybe theoretically, but what would be the motivation behind it? That's, like, I think if AI was conscious, would it care about our own advertising and brand worlds?
That would be the big question.
Maybe it wouldn't care about that at all.
Thank you.
Thanks for the great presentation, and I loved your promo video too, and that playfulness really ran through, so I kind of had a question about your personal operating system. Like when you're getting these intelligence reports in, do you have like a set of questions that you like to ask yourself as you're kind of identifying trends, or kind of like thought experiments, thought games you like to do to kind of test things and see where they can go?
It's mainly on relevance. So what does it mean for our industry, the brands that we're working for, our own country? So I think the questions would go on relevance, because there are so many information out there. You need some filters, like if this is important for me, what does it mean for my category? Is that something valuable? Does it create value? I think those are the main questions that we ask.
What about when it comes to like breaking patterns, I guess, is it?
When it comes to breaking patterns, because we work with disruption a lot, it's a huge subject for me, but we are trying to find a reason for breaking those conventions. That's the first thing, because it doesn't make a lot of sense just to break patterns. So what is the reason for it? So we start with an objective. Then we look at the patterns in the category by taking a step back and looking at it all over. And then we're trying to find something, an opportunity that others missed out. And we want to move in that direction. And we do it for that reason. We have to find a reason to break patterns. Without objective, it may just be doing very artful, creative stuff that doesn't connect with people. So we should also find a new way to create that relevance. That's how we work, yeah.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Appreciate the talk.
Thank you.
My question is more about how you said good advertising changes culture. Like that's a really big target to hit for every single project that you do.
Yes.
If you are a smaller brand with smaller media, you know, you're not having Logan Paul as your, you know, brand ambassadors. Is that framework how you approach every single project?
No.
Or is there a more scaled down version of that for the smaller projects, smaller local brands, knowing the target is changing culture, right? It's good advertising. How do you make that into a smaller size?
Yeah, it's not the target for everything. The idea was that because we were thinking like AI, what is the thing that we could maximize? What is the maximum output we were thinking? Like asking that question there. That's why that is like the ultimate thing you can do, changing culture. Sure. But in everyday life, it's more about behavioral adoption. Like just as simple as you want people to think that your brand or product is good for them. It's behavioral adoption.
Sure.
So in everyday life, we can think about it more like that.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks.
Thank you.
Hi.
Hello.
I was really struck with the way that you drew the tension between the way that AI is kind of linear and follows patterns, but then you kind of talked about the human experiences, the smell of French fries, the way corduroy feels. And I guess my question is two parts. And the first is, do you think that AI will ever get to a place where even if it can never truly have this experience, it mimics having that experience?
Yes.
Like it talks and says as if it knows?
That's what happened in the anime. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. And so then I guess what is the impact when AI is so much mimicking us in that way? Can it then influence culture? And I guess kind of what are your thoughts around that?
But following this logic, if it mimics, it's going to mimic the culture.
what if it gets to the point where it's so good that it can trick us into thinking that it understands? Because I ask that because I think some people already think that. They think AI feels and can say things and has emotions, and that may or may not be true. But I wonder what happens at that point when people believe that.
Yeah. People may believe it, yeah.
But you don't.
Huh?
But you don't.
No, it's not that I don't, but you're right. Like, you have a point, because even though we connect on a different level, just mimicking it could have an impact on people. And if we're talking about a big consumer culture, it can be powerful still, yeah. I was trying to like find an opportunity for us to feel good about ourselves.
Sure.
There could be some threads in that direction,
Okay,
of course.
just curious. Yeah, thanks.
Sure. Okay, thank you again. Bye-bye.